My name's Roman, and I founded Camayak. I was a journalist for about 6 years in the UK, and I came over to New York to start my own magazine, and we had about 80 freelancers that were all over the world. Freelancers working for the Financial Times, The Economist, that kind of thing, and we were going to have a sort of lifestyle, kind of like a Monocle rip-off, digital only. And we raised a bit of money and we got going, and we just tried to get into a daily cycle of churning out 3 or 4 pieces a day, which we thought was pretty modest to start with, and it turned out not to be the case. We ended up running into a lot of difficulties just managing that process with people all over the world. And I was quite surprised to find that there wasn't an off-the-shelf, affordable virtual newsroom tool that we could use. There was lots of WordPress plugin stuff and spreadsheets, hell, and stuff like that, which was very weird to me. So we got kind of started about 3 years ago. I think we've boiled our pitch currently down to this, that we make it easy for editorial teams to scale. We basically save you time and sanity, probably. We're a very small team. I'm based in California most of the time. We've got another chap in the UK and then another guy in Minnesota, somebody in New Haven. All of our revenue goes straight back into the business, and we're probably about 3 months away from being cash flow positive. So we found a really interesting niche because when I came over from the UK, I was amazed to find that college journalism is a real thing here. As in, like, people take it seriously, and it's the first step to, a professional media career. And so I was amazed, and really, I was super happy to find that there were these newsrooms with 50 to 100 contributors, sometimes more than that, all over the country. The strong ones that you'll all know about, but also some ones, colleges I'd never heard of that had extremely strong media programs and stuff like that. And so they became the testing ground for us with an extremely buggy, terrible product to begin with. But they're very robust and they were very friendly. And so that's kind of where we got our start. And then we, since that, have extended down into high schools. And now we're sort of getting to the point where it's a good enough proposition that we're working with professional publishers and brands and agencies and that kind of thing. That's the situation we were in before we started building. So yeah, I had basically a spreadsheet open, and we had about 200 rows in it weekly because we wanted to do 50 pieces a week, something like that. But for every one piece that you thought you were going to publish, you were managing the process for 4 because you knew that 75% of the work wasn't going to come in on time. And then you had about 7 columns per row. So who's on it? What's the link to the Google Doc? Whose number should I call when it's ready? Here's the latest status. Does it need a photo? All that kind of thing. Demo, yeah. So this is basically it. When you log in, there's lots of blank screen, but everybody gets sort of a customized look for an activity feed, things that are going on in real time. This is your sort of inbox of stuff basically this is your sort of article editor. We've got our own article editor, and we have a plugin for WordPress, and we have a publishing API that we're working on so you can integrate basically with any of your CMS or other platforms. The idea is that this is a kind of layer on top of any of the platforms you're pushing your content to. The backbone of how this workflow thing really works is that you have a sort of sequential, kind of like a linear looking workflow that you can customize. You can have different desks. So you might have, traditionally that might be per section, or potentially for a group of freelancers versus staff writers, that kind of thing. People can belong to, they might hold different positions in different desks. So you can see kind of where this came from, a sort of typical print-based publishing workflow that was very common across all the colleges that we were working with to begin with. But it seems it's flexible enough that, lots of people don't use it to its full capacity, but it can get pretty wild. Like we have, I think UCLA, the Daily Bruin, they have like a 13-step workflow. Each one of those steps is literally a different position in the newsroom, which was pretty good. A sort of calendar that tracks all the assignments and their due dates, that kind of thing. Creating new assignments should be really easy. assigning things to people, that sort of thing, picking the desk that's going to be doing the editing. You can pick, if you're lucky enough to have like multiple people per step, you can filter them in, or and then you choose where you're going to publish to and what the first submission deadline is and that sort of thing. So the idea really is that it just speeds everything up, makes everything much more scalable, and everybody is sort of on the same page. And then we can do cool things like we know we can track everything that you've edited as well as been on the byline for, so we can generate these sort of nice portfolios for everybody with everything that they've done. Should probably blow that up. Some nice things that people have had to say. It's much faster than using Google Docs. So Google Docs and spreadsheets are really what people are mostly using, we found. It's also, it drives up engagement because people, when they log in, it feels like this is a live newsroom, and it's kind of a bit more live than a WordPress plugin situation. Pushback. So when we first got started, probably lots of you are thinking, I can't believe that this is another product that's looking to deal with content management, because two things that content management definitely isn't is sexy or easy. So we were very lucky to find an amazing CTO, the chap in Minnesota, who built out CMS systems for a major company called Internet Broadcasting, and had lots of experience with mainly sort of TV workflows and that kind of thing. Without that, without his experience, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are now, because we've avoided a lot of pitfalls. It's basically saying no to a lot of things, because what we're trying to provide is more of a Tumblr experience for editorial workflow than a, infinitely customizable, lots of knobs and dials to turn and to fix, notifications and that kind of thing. A lot of that we want to offer out of the box, so it's kind of intuitive. You don't have to do too much customization. So yeah, this is largely the feedback that we got from people in the news industry who were in their rhythm. Dealing with a Google Doc and a bunch of spreadsheets isn't actually, it works, right? So people are really cynical, but we rode that, and I just put these together for some of the things that I thought was quite useful, validating the idea. So in my spare time, I love flipping through sites like Flipper. If you know Flipper, it's kind of like a graveyard of businesses that are trying to now sort of sell themselves off. And I found that site just before we got started and kind of got super paranoid that I would find, an editorial workflow tool that makes it easy to manage and scale your editorial collaboration. So I still kind of am, well, yeah. So we don't want to end up on Flipper, but it's an important part of the process, not waste your time building something or doing research, basically. Finding evangelists, so basically me harassing people like Jeremy to say, check out what we're doing, and then them, being crazily generous and saying, oh, well, come and meet and show me what you've got, and it's okay, you could use some work, let me know what you're doing in 6 months' time, so people can chart your arc, basically, and start taking you seriously. If you're not convincing enough the first time around, which is can be a common thing. The reason I listed Quib there was because I noticed that with their email, they're quite heavy on the email deliveries, and I like the idea that you really whittle down to the people that care about what you're doing as quickly as you can, because they're gonna carry you. Team building, by far and away the most important thing, I think, to the process that we've done, because without the right people, it's never going to fly. Lots of selling, lots of cold calling. I've been all over the country. It's a great country. Had a lot of fun. You've got to eat, though, so you've got to find out, just short-term ways of keeping yourself going. So it started as a part-time gig for me, and then we managed to get some revenue pretty early on, so that was great. And as I say, yeah, we're about probably 3 months away from being cash flow positive with 3 full-time employees, so that's going really well. Team building. A few lessons that we've learned along the way. So when you're dealing with CMS, content management, stuff like that, and anything website related, it's anyone you visit's going to have a ton of things that they want specifically just from your product, and it's really difficult to kind of basically say no to 90% of what they've asked for, and then try and sell them the 10% that they probably didn't ask for, but you're trying to give it to them, and it takes a bit of time, but you have to do that because otherwise it won't scale, and it's not going to work out in the long run. So you get a lot of that, basically. and stare downs, and it's just relationship building basically, to convince them that your proposition is like at all valuable. So we've bootstrapped the whole way, and we've actually turned down money a couple of times because we've seen a few other companies in our sort of space doing interesting things, and you're just taken in a completely different trajectory, and unless it's like the perfect fit and it's really nicely aligned, we've seen so many good products, as I'm sure you have to get cannibalized too early. So we're sort of trying to stay clear of that. And it's really easy to start seeing that as just a way out. But it's much more fun to kind of try and deal with these subscription models and actually make your own money. Because when you started to crack it, you think you might be really onto something. And that's really exciting. That's basically what gets me out of bed in the morning, is that, you know, we're doing the hard work. Finding the right balance between things you'd love to do and things you've just got to do tomorrow morning. That's a really tricky balance. And when you're in a small team, you don't have somebody. I think that's a big part of a VC's value, right? Or an incubator's value, is that they can give you that sort of top level, high level bird's eye view of where you should take things. And that's really useful. But you've got to kind of bring it down, and ultimately, you know, most of your success is going to be down to the way it's executed, because we've all got awesome ideas. So this is something that really like annoys me when, you know, you're talking to people and they get super protective over something that doesn't exist yet, and drives me nuts basically. And then so I think I've probably lost a few friends over this sort of thing. There can't be any. There can be absolutely no fat basically on the sort of lean approach. You've got to make sure that we've got the 3 and 4 of us. We've got completely different skills, so we mesh really well. But you know, we've had a lot of people come. We thought, oh, they might be a good fit and stuff. But the moment they've got too much overlap with what you've already got, or they're just not really offering you anything, it's really tempting to sort of grow because you think you should be growing. But stay lean is the advice, I suppose. And this is a teachable moments thing, which I've discovered from sort of student media, talking to advisors and teachers about how when things go really horribly wrong, those are the best moments. It doesn't feel like that. We've had a few like terrible, 3 a.m, sites down, getting a call from somebody. They're like, oh, we've got all of our content in your system and we can't print our paper tomorrow. It didn't really dawn on me that was a big deal until they said, and we've got about... And I was like, yeah, it's fine, it's going to work. And we're all on this Skype call, and then she says, oh, but we've also got $12,000 of advertising attached to this print product that's going out tomorrow morning. If we miss that, we're going to have to reimburse the advertisers. So that was a nice little, cranked it up a bit for us there. And so, you have these moments and stuff, but you learn a ton. And yeah, basically, because if you're in a weird niche, or if you're doing something that we don't have that many competitors doing exactly what we're doing, so you know that all of the hard yards you're putting in, other people, those are the first time those hard yards are being done in that particular area, so it's all part of your value, basically. We make money in 3 ways, so the main way is selling subscriptions. It's a licensed sort of software as a service. We've started to connect freelancers. We've got about 4,500 users, and they specialize in different topics. They write about different things: photographers, writers, editors. So we're starting to connect those with professional publishers, brands, and agencies. And then we used to do more custom work, and we've slowly tried to shrink that down. And so now we're pretty happy with we're not doing too much custom work for people, which is great. Yeah, I mean, I just put that in there because it's nice being a small team, and it's nice making real revenue. So, thanks very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Will. Questions?
Do all of you work full time? So does the guy in Minnesota or Minneapolis work full time for you?
Yes.
It seems as if the platform supports photographers, but how far deep into the art department needs does it go? And is it something that you would say is suited for the types of art department stuff that magazines have to encounter, where you gotta, make them get to the, connect them with the sources and the direction, and how far deep does this thing go?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit like sort of base campy in that way. So if you've got an assignment that needs media, you've got a couple of ways of handling that. So you can, tag somebody in a comment, for example, and ping them and say, hey, we need a photo, can you upload it? So they'll put their media in here. Or you can create an assignment and specifically task them with, here's a deadline for grabbing these media assets, and connect it to other assignments so that other assignments can share that media when they've uploaded their stuff. So it's pretty basic, but it's sort of effective, we found so far. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Is there a free version?
Not at the moment, but we are going to try and roll that out in the next couple of months. Definitely a trial. Oh, sorry. Is there a free version? Not at the moment, but there will be. And is there a trial version? Yeah, anybody can try it for 30 days. And then we price basically by volume. So how many assignments you're producing, unlimited users. So we've got a few organizations that have 300-400 contributors, and I think probably in the next few months we're going to start doing some much bigger ones. So 2,000-3,000 contributors and that sort of stuff, and citizen journalism, that kind of going that way. You can send an assignment out to a desk, and maybe that desk is like a Queens desk or Brooklyn, whatever. So I don't know, stuff like that. So and people on campuses are doing quite interesting things where they're inviting science majors to a science major desk, and we need commentary on. No one really understands what this means, so someone on the science desk might. So.
Have you provided at all for collaboration among the people, generating ideas, who can contribute ideas, projects like that?
So do you mean within within an organization, or?
Yes.
So yeah, there's a pitch. This is the pitch wall, and anybody can submit a pitch, and this is where you'd run through feedback on the pitch, and then you can quickly convert that into an assignment, and you're into exactly the same flow as creating a normal assignment. So it's pretty rapid. The turnaround from pitch to assignment, it should be quick and intuitive. We're thinking about maybe opening that two ways, so that maybe an organization could pluck ideas from a sort of shared.
That's what I was thinking, something very interactive.
Yeah, that's it's we've got a mega diverse client base, so we have to think very carefully about any sort of outside of the org kind of sharing. I mean, there are a few bigger clients that have multiple organizations. You can use one account to log into multiple newsrooms, so that would be a good use case maybe for a sort of group of newsrooms that could share amongst themselves certain, a level above the organization, basically.
Last questions?
Hi. You spoke a bit about WordPress integration. Can you talk about how that works? And once you approve something in here, does it automatically come over with the formatting, the image, things like that?
So yeah, and that's basically how it works. Is XML RPC we use to get the post into WordPress, and we push it all with its metadata and attach. So you can we import all of your tags and categories and custom taxonomies and custom fields. We can make them all available in here so that you can set them, and then when it pushes over, it just appears. We don't do any styling, so all the template will handle the styling. So you can set featured image and stuff like that in here as well. We're working on a publishing API, so you can easily just pipe to Tumblr or other platforms to try and give publishers some flexibility there. But.
Great. Last one.
So if you wanted to use this as a freelancer, for instance, do they have to be a part of the organization, or do they have their own separate membership? I just confused. It seems to me that if you're an organization and you'd have multiple freelancers, they would have to be part of this membership. And if there's maybe another organization they're freelancing for, they have to sign up another membership with that organization, or do they have their own thing and then maybe their own dashboard that shows them all of their stories that have been assigned to them from various organizations?
Yeah, so that's basically this page where, so on the right-hand side, I've got all of my newsroom memberships. And then here is a very primitive at the moment, but this is where you would have like an Uber dashboard, where you'd have an aggregate of all the stuff coming from a different organization. So the way it works right now is if I invite you to a Camayak organization, you sign up, put your details in. Somebody else would have to do the same thing to invite you to their Camayak organization, but because we know you're already a Camayak user, there's no sort of sign-up process. It'll just appear as another option on your dashboard.
Can people sign up just as freelancers, like Contently style?
Not at the moment, and we thought that was a good idea for a while, and we've gone a bit more lukewarm on that for now, because there's a lot of freelancer type models, and 90% of the freelancer base aren't getting work. So you introduce like some political stuff to manage there if you're going to open that up. So we're kind of taking the approach where we work with a professional publisher that's using Camayak, and then they say we need X, Y, Z, and then we kind of go to our mailing list and we say this is what we're looking for. Yeah.
Great. Well,
Is there a billing capability here where freelancers can tally the number of articles they submit and that we approve, and then they can submit billing invoices through the system as well?
That's on the roadmap, and that would feed off of your portfolio, basically.
great.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Roman.